Captain Tess Blackburn had a reputation across 3 galactic quadrants. Most of it was true. Some of it was exaggerated. None of it included the phrase diplomatic finesse. "Captain, incoming transmission from Galactic Alliance headquarters," announced Lieutenant Plex, a 7-foot-tall Andorian with skin the color of an overripe blueberry and the personality of undercooked toast. Tess sighed. "Indai." "Men." Setting down her coffee mug, the one emblazoned with "I survived the Zeta Reticuli incident, and all I got was this stupid mug," and slouched toward the communications console. "Patch it through, Lieutenant. And please tell me it's not Admiral Korvax again. I still haven't filed the paperwork from our last minor incident." "It's not Admiral Korvax," Plex said flatly. "Thank the cosmic void. It's General Dressler." Tessa's face fell. "That's worse." General Dressler's hologram materialized above the console, all 6.5 feet of starched uniform and permanent scowl. "Captain Blackburn, I see you're maintaining your ship's bridge with the usual informality." Tess glanced around at the empty food containers, the dartboard with Admiral Korvax's face as the bullseye, and the ship's unofficial mascot, a genetically modified hamster that had somehow developed telepathic abilities and a fondness for stealing socks. "We like to keep it homey, sir." The general's scowl deepened. "I'm contacting you with a priority mission, Captain. One that requires your unique approach." "Does this unique approach involve shooting things? Because if so, you should know we're running low on plasma grenades after that business with the Traxian smugglers." "This is a diplomatic mission, Captain." Tess blinked. "I think your transmission is breaking up, sir. I could have sworn you said diplomatic mission." "I did. The Galactic Alliance needs a human representative at a high-priority event on planet Luxoria. All other human diplomats are currently engaged, and the Luxorian specifically requested a human presence." "But sir, I'm not. You're the closest human with command rank to the Luxorian system. The event begins in 36 hours. You will attend as Earth's representative. This is non-negotiable." "What kind of event are we talking about? Trade negotiation? Peace treaty? Competitive knitting?" The general's image flickered. "The details are classified. You'll be fully briefed upon arrival. The Luxorians are traditionalists, Captain. They place high value on strength and martial prowess. So you're sending me because you've killed more space pirates than anyone else in the fleet, and the Luxorians respect that sort of thing. They're expecting a warrior. Don't disappoint them." The transmission ended before Tess could argue further. "Well," said Lieutenant Plex, "that sounded important." "It sounded like a disaster waiting to happen," Tess muttered. "Me? Diplomacy? That's like asking a Cronmarian slug beast to perform ballet." The telepathic hamster squeaked from its perch on the navigation console. "No, Whiskers, I am not overreacting," Tess responded. "Last time I attended a diplomatic function, I accidentally declared war on a sentient mushroom colony." Whiskers squeaked again. Yes, I know they forgave me after I saved their spore farm from those space locusts, but that's not the point." Tess pulled up the star charts, locating Luxoria. It was a small, wealthy planet known for its technological advancements and strict social hierarchies. The kind of place where using the wrong fork at dinner could result in a plasma duel at dawn. "Set course for Luxoria, Plex, and activate chip. If I'm going to be a diplomat, I need all the help I can get." A small blue hologram flickered to life on Tessa's shoulder, forming into a miniature human figure with an oversized head and a permanent smirk. "Chip online," the AI announced. "How may I assist you, Captain Disaster?" "That nickname violated our agreement," Tess grumbled. "My apologies. How may I assist you? Captain has blown up 7 diplomatic missions, but who's counting?" Tess sighed. Sometimes she wondered why she'd programmed a sense of humor into her AI assistant. General Dressler's sending us on a diplomatic mission to Luxoria. I need to know everything about their customs, their leadership, and what the hell this event is that I'm supposed to attend. Chip's eyes flashed as he processed information. Processing, Luxoria, ruled by King Astromore IX, highly advanced technology but values tradition, with current political situation stable but with underlying tensions between royal family and the noble houses. That's odd. What's odd? There's a security lockout on information about upcoming events on Luxoria. Even with my clearance, I can't access the specifics. Tess frowned. That's not suspicious at all. Well, if the general wants a warrior, he'll get one. We're going in prepared for anything. Shall I run diplomatic protocols and etiquette programs? No, Tess said, cracking her knuckles. Run combat scenarios. If the Luxorians value strength, let's give them a show they won't forget. The Luxorian sun glinted off the polished surface of Tess's battle armor as she inspected it in her quarters. The Mark VI Hellstorm combat suit was her pride and joy, 800 pounds of reinforced uranium alloy, armed with enough firepower to take on a small army. It had saved her life more times than she could count. Chip, run diagnostics on the shoulder-mounted micro-missile launcher, Tess instructed as she calibrated the armor's neural interface. The AI materialized on her workbench. Captain, are you sure bringing your full combat loadout to a diplomatic mission is the appropriate course of action? The general said they respect warriors. Besides, we have no idea what's happening on Luxoria. Could be a trap. Could be a test. Either way, I'm not walking in there without my big guns. Technically, you won't be walking at all. The servo-assisted joints of the Hellstorm suit will be doing most of the heavy lifting. Tess rolled her eyes. It's a figure of speech, smartass. I am aware of human idioms. I was attempting humor. Stick to data analysis. Your comedy routines need work. Chip's holographic form crossed its arms. I've been studying human comedy. Would you prefer I try a knock-knock joke or perhaps a limerick about the mating habits of Venusian swamp tigers? I'd prefer you tell me what weaponry won't trigger Luxorian security protocols. I want to be respectful, not start an interplanetary incident. The Luxorians don't possess technology that can detect your suit's cloaked weapon systems. However, they might take issue with your matter disruptor. It's banned in 16 star systems. 17, Tess corrected, patting the massive gun affectionately. Forgot about that misunderstanding in the Capellan sector. Fine, I'll leave the disruptor, but the plasma repeater stays. The ship's intercom crackled. Captain, we're approaching Luxoria, Lieutenant Plex announced. Their orbital control is requesting identification and purpose of visit. Tell them we're here for the, what did the general call it? The high-priority event. Use all the proper diplomatic authorization codes. Tess continued her pre-mission ritual, checking each component of her armor. The built-in medical systems, the emergency shield generator, the anti-gravity boots, and her personal favorite, the integrated coffee dispenser she'd installed after the 30-hour siege on Deimos Station. As she worked, Chip projected a holographic map of the Luxorian Royal Palace. I've managed to access basic schematics of your destination. The palace complex is massive, over 3 square miles of buildings, gardens, and ceremonial spaces. Any intel on security measures? Standard royal protection protocols. Energy shields, armed guards, bioscanners. Nothing you haven't bypassed before. Good. What about the political situation? The general mentioned something about traditionalists. Chip's projection shifted to display various alien faces. Luxoria is currently ruled by King Astromore EX of House Celestial. There are 12 noble houses, each controlling different aspects of Luxorian society. Recent intelligence suggests tensions between House Celestial and House Astral have been increasing. Let me guess. Territory disputes? Resource allocation? The reports are unclear, but there are rumors of a potential alliance between the houses that could shift the balance of power. Politics, Tess grumbled, sealing her armor gauntlets. Give me a straightforward firefight any day. The ship shuddered slightly as it entered Luxoria's atmosphere. Tess activated her armor's power systems, feeling the familiar hum as the suit came to life around her. One last thing, Chip said, a hint of concern in his digital voice. Luxorian formal events are highly ritualized. Perhaps we should download some basic ceremonial protocols. No time, Tess interrupted. If I need to know something, I'll have you on comms. Besides, how complicated can it be? I'll smile, shake some hands or tentacles or whatever they have and try not to start a war. Your optimism is both admirable and statistically unfounded. That's why they sent me and not some stuffed shirt from the diplomatic corps. I get results. Yes, usually explosive ones. Tess grinned as her helmet sealed with a satisfying hiss. Everyone remembers the diplomat who comes in with a bang. Now, let's go meet the locals. As the ship touched down on the designated landing pad, Tess checked her reflection in a polished bulkhead. 8 feet tall in her armor, bristling with weapons, and with her helmet's intimidation mode activated, glowing red eye slits and external speakers that lowered her voice to a menacing growl. Perfect, she said. Nothing says peaceful diplomatic mission like showing up ready for war. The statistical probability of this ending well is... Never tell me the odds, Chip. The AI sighed. As you wish, Captain. But I've taken the liberty of prepping the ship's engines for a quick escape, just in case. That's why you're my favorite piece of software. I'm the only piece of software programmed to tolerate you. Tess laughed as the ship's ramp lowered, revealing the glittering spires of the Luxorian royal palace in the distance. All right, let's go make humanity proud. Or at least, let's try not to get kicked out of another star system. The Luxorian shuttle that transported Tess from the spaceport to the palace was clearly not designed with 8-foot battle armor in mind. She sat awkwardly, her knees jammed against the opposite seat, while 2 Luxorian attendants stared at her with expressions that mixed horror and fascination. Luxorians, Tess noted, looked remarkably like humans if humans had iridescent lavender skin, 4 arms and elaborate cranial ridges that changed color with their emotions. Currently, both attendants' ridges were pulsing a nervous yellow. So, Tess said, her voice booming through her helmet's external speakers, nice weather you're having. The attendants flinched. One of them, wearing elaborate silver robes, cleared their throat. Captain Blackburn, we were, not expecting such an impressive display of martial readiness. Just following orders, Tess replied cheerfully. Your people value strength and warrior traditions, right? I'm here to represent the best of human military might. The attendants exchanged glances. Indeed, said the second one, whose cranial ridges had shifted to a concerned purple. Although perhaps for today's occasion something less. Intimidating, suggested the first. I was going to say heavily armed. Tess waved a gauntleted hand dismissively, accidentally activating her armor's targeting system. Red holographic crosshairs briefly danced across the attendants' faces before she shut it down. Sorry about that. Don't worry, safety protocols are engaged. I'm not going to accidentally vaporize anyone. This did not appear to comfort the Luxorians. As the shuttle approached the palace, Tess stared out the window. The structure was breathtaking crystalline towers that seemed to be made of solidified light, gardens with plants in impossible colors, and floating platforms connected by bridges of pure energy. Wow, she murmured. Now that's what I call swanky. Chip's voice came through her helmet's private comm system. The Luxorian Royal Palace is considered one of the 17 wonders of the Galactic Alliance. Its central crystal spire contains computational systems that could run a small planet. Good to know, Tess whispered. Any updates on what this event actually is? Still locked out of the specifics. However, I'm detecting unusual activity in the palace's main ceremonial chamber. High-energy signatures consistent with top-tier security systems. See? This is why we brought the armor. The shuttle landed on an ornate platform bordered by what appeared to be living statues, Luxorians standing perfectly still, their bodies covered in a metallic sheen. Honor Guard, Chip explained. The metallic coating is a ceremonial nanotech treatment. Very prestigious. Impressive, Tess said as she maneuvered her bulk out of the shuttle, careful not to crush the delicate-looking steps. But impractical in combat. One EMP and they'd be locked in place. The attendants led her toward the palace entrance, where a reception committee awaited. Tess couldn't help but notice that everyone she passed stared at her with some combination of shock, horror, or confusion. She also couldn't help but notice that everyone was dressed in elaborate formal wear, flowing robes, jeweled headpieces, and ceremonial sashes. No one else was wearing battle armor. Not even the guards. Is there a dress code I should know about? She asked Chip privately. I did try to suggest downloading ceremonial protocols. Yeah. Too late now. The reception committee consisted of 3 elderly Luxorians whose cranial ridges were so elaborate they resembled crowns. The central figure, wearing robes more ornate than the others, stepped forward. Captain Blackburn of Earth, he announced in a voice that conveyed both authority and mild alarm. I am Grand Chamberlain Valter. Welcome to Luxoria on this most auspicious day. Tess attempted a bow, which was difficult in the Hellstorm suit. The servos whined in protest. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to represent humanity at this event. The Grand Chamberlain's eyes widened slightly. Yes, the event. I must say, your attire is most unexpected. General Dressler mentioned you valued strength and martial prowess. I'm here to honor your traditions. How thoughtful, the Chamberlain replied, his cranial ridges shifting to an interesting shade of mauve. Though perhaps there has been a slight misunderstanding about the nature of today's proceedings. Before Tess could respond, a commotion erupted at the far end of the hall. A group of Luxorians with cobalt blue skin different from the lavender hue of their hosts entered in a procession. They were led by a strikingly beautiful female whose cranial ridges formed a natural tiara. Ah, said the Chamberlain, the Celestian delegation arrives right on schedule. Captain, may I present Princess Meridia of the Celestian Empire, betrothed of our own Prince Zorn. Tess froze. I'm sorry, did you say betrothed? Yes, today marks the union of House Celestial and the Celestian Empire after 3 centuries of diplomatic negotiations. The royal wedding will bring peace to our star systems at last. Tess felt her stomach drop. Wedding? As in matrimonial ceremony? Joining of 2 people, cake and dancing, and not a high-security diplomatic summit. The Chamberlain blinked all 4 of his eyes in succession. Why, yes. Did General Dressler not inform you? This is the most significant royal wedding in 5 generations. In her ear, Chip's voice was suspiciously silent. Chip, she hissed. Did you know about this? After a moment, the AI responded. There may have been some context clues I overlooked. I'm going to disassemble you when we get back to the ship. Looking forward to it, Captain. The Chamberlain was still staring at her expectantly. Tess cleared her throat, the sound amplified to a menacing growl by her helmet speakers. Of course I knew it was a wedding, she lied. That's why I'm so heavily armed. On Earth, it's tradition for human representatives to attend royal weddings in full battle gear. It symbolizes our commitment to defend the Union. The Chamberlain's ridges shifted to a doubtful blue. Is that so? How fascinating. We have studied many Earth cultures, but this tradition is unfamiliar. It's very obscure, ancient, practically prehistoric, but sacred. Can't break tradition, can we? At that moment, a young Luxorian male in the most elaborate robes yet approached, flanked by more of the metallic-covered honor guard. His cranial ridges formed a perfect symmetrical pattern that Tess assumed was the Luxorian equivalent of a perfect haircut. "Captain Blackburn," the Chamberlain announced, "may I present His Royal Highness Prince Zorn of House Celestial, heir to the Crystal Throne of Luxoria." Prince Zorn examined Tess with curious eyes. "A human warrior attends our wedding. How unexpected, and in such impressive armor. I have heard of human battle prowess, but to see it firsthand is quite remarkable." Tess saluted, accidentally activating her armor's shoulder lamp, which blinded the prince momentarily. Sorry about that. Honor to meet you, Your Highness. Congratulations on your nuptials." The prince blinked away the spots in his vision. "Thank you, Captain. I must say, your presence adds an exciting element to today's ceremony. Perhaps you would demonstrate some human battle techniques at the reception?" "I'd be honored," Tess replied, while mentally calculating how quickly she could get back to her ship. "Wonderful. Now, shall we proceed to the grand ceremonial chamber? My bride awaits, and I believe you have a special role to play in the ceremony." "I do?" Tess asked, alarm bells ringing in her mind. The Chamberlain nodded solemnly. "Indeed. As the only armed guest, tradition dictates you serve as the Sentinel of Vows." "The what now?" "The Sentinel of Vows. You will stand guard over the ceremonial unity crystals and challenge any who would oppose the union. It is a role of great honor, traditionally given to the most fearsome warrior present." Tess stared at the Chamberlain, then at the prince, then back at the Chamberlain. "Right. The Sentinel of Vows. Of course, I'd be honored." As they led her toward the ceremonial chamber, Tess whispered to Chip, "I'm going to kill General Dressler when we get back." "You'll have to get in line," the AI replied. "I've already calculated 16 ways to corrupt his personal data files." The grand ceremonial chamber of the Luxorian royal palace was a marvel of alien architecture. Its domed ceiling rose hundreds of feet above, seemingly composed of living light that shifted and flowed in mesmerizing patterns. The walls were lined with what looked like liquid crystal, and the floor was a mosaic of precious stones arranged in geometric patterns that subtly changed position when no one was looking directly at them. And in the middle of this breathtaking space, standing like a sore thumb, was Captain Tess Blackburn in her massive battle armor, surrounded by thousands of elegantly dressed aliens who kept shooting her confused glances. "Chip," she muttered, "I'm going to need step-by-step instructions on how to be this Sentinel of Vows without causing an interplanetary incident." "Processing," the AI replied. Based on observable Luxorian customs and available data on their wedding traditions, the Sentinel of Vows appears to be a ceremonial guard position. You'll stand near the altar holding a traditional weapon, looking intimidating. "Well, I've got the intimidating part covered," Tess said, shifting uncomfortably as her armor's cooling system struggled to keep up with the heat of embarrassment flooding her body. The Grand Chamberlain approached, carrying what appeared to be a glowing crystal spear. "Captain Blackburn, if you would accept the scepter of challenge and take your position by the Unity pedestal." Tess reached out to take the ceremonial weapon, only to accidentally activate her armor's power grip. The delicate crystal scepter cracked slightly in her gauntleted hand. The Chamberlain's cranial ridges turned a horrified white. That artifact is 6,000 years old." "Just adding some character," Tess said quickly. "On Earth, we believe small imperfections make ceremonial objects more authentic." "How progressive," the Chamberlain replied faintly. Tess was led to a position beside an elaborate pedestal where 2 large crystals floated in a gravity field. "Stand here," the Chamberlain instructed. "When the ceremony begins, you must look fierce and challenge the assembly 3 times. "Challenge them how? Exactly?" "You must call out who dares oppose this union, and then scan the crowd menacingly. That's it? If anyone actually opposes, you're to throw them out of the ceremony. Traditionally by physical force. Tess grinned behind her helmet. Now that's a wedding tradition I can get behind. The ceremony began with a procession of Luxorian nobles and Celestian dignitaries. Music filled the chamber, a strange, harmonious blend of sounds that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Tess recognized the basic structure of a wedding ceremony, with its ritualized movements and formal speeches, but the alien elements made it both fascinating and deeply confusing. When Prince Zorn took his place at the altar, looking resplendent in robes that appeared to be woven from starlight, the crowd fell silent. The Chamberlain nodded to Tess. That was her cue. Tess raised the cracked scepter, her armor's speakers automatically amplifying her voice to a thunderous boom. Who dares oppose this union? The force of her amplified challenge sent ripples through the liquid crystal walls. Several guests flinched. No one spoke. Well done, whispered the Chamberlain, though perhaps a bit louder than traditionally necessary. Princess Meridia entered next, her procession even more elaborate than Zorn's. Her cobalt skin contrasted beautifully with robes that seemed to be made of flowing water, and her 4 arms carried different symbolic objects: a crystal, a flame contained in a transparent bubble, a living flower, and a small device that projected holographic star maps. As she reached the altar, Tess delivered her second challenge, trying to moderate her volume. Who dares oppose this union? This time, only the front row of guests flinched. The ceremony proceeded with an exchange of vows in a lyrical Luxorian dialect that Tess's translator struggled with. She gathered it involved promises of political alliance, genetic compatibility, and something about optimal resource allocation, not exactly the romantic fare of human weddings. As the couple prepared to exchange the Unity crystals, Tess delivered her final challenge, attempting to strike the perfect balance between ceremonial and terrifying. Who dares oppose this union? There was a moment of perfect silence. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice called out, "I do." Every head turned. Tess's armor automatically activated its threat assessment protocols, highlighting a Luxorian male pushing his way through the crowd. His cranial ridges were wild and unkempt, pulsing with angry red light. "Oh great," Tess muttered. "It's actually happening." "This union cannot proceed." The Luxorian shouted. "Prince Zorn has already made sacred promises to my sister. This wedding violates the ancient pact between our houses." The crowd erupted in gasps and murmurs. The Chamberlain looked desperately at Tess. "Captain, as Sentinel of Vows, you must address this challenge." Tess stepped forward, her armor's servos whirring. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Maybe we can discuss your concerns outside?" The challenger pulled out a small device. "There will be no discussion. If I cannot stop this wedding by tradition, I shall stop it by force." "Is that a weapon?" Tess asked, her combat training kicking in. "It is a dimensional disruptor. It will tear a hole in reality and destroy this entire chamber." "Yeah, that's a weapon," Tess confirmed, dropping the ceremonial scepter and activating her armor's combat systems. "Chip, options?" "Dimensional disruptors are theoretically impossible," the AI responded, "but I wouldn't recommend testing that theory. Recommend non-lethal takedown." The wedding guests were scattering in panic. The royal couple stood frozen at the altar. The Chamberlain had fainted. Tess charged forward, her armor's anti-gravity systems allowing her to leap over the crowd in a single bound. She landed in front of the challenger with a crash that cracked the mosaic floor. "Last chance to leave peacefully," she offered. "Death to House Celestial." The challenger screamed, raising his device. Tess sighed. Why did they never choose the easy way? With precision born from years of combat experience, she deployed her armor's neural disruptor, a non-lethal weapon that overwhelmed the nervous system without causing permanent damage. The challenger convulsed briefly, then collapsed. Threat neutralized, Tess announced, picking up the device. Chip, analysis? It appears to be a holographic projector. Not a weapon at all, though he believed it was. Tess looked at the unconscious Luxorian, then at the stunned wedding guests, then at the royal couple still standing at the altar. So, she said into the silence, do we continue with the wedding, or? The stunned silence lasted approximately 3 seconds before the grand ceremonial chamber erupted into chaos. Assassin, someone shouted. Rebel, cried another. House Astral is making its move. A third voice declared. Tess found herself surrounded by panicking aliens, some fleeing, others shouting accusations. The Royal Guard was trying to reach the fallen challenger, but the crowd's movement made it difficult. Everybody calmed down. Tess boomed through her armor's speakers, the command cutting through the noise. Surprisingly, people listened. The situation is under control. This individual is subdued and his device is harmless. Prince Zorn approached, his earlier composure replaced by visible agitation. Captain Blackburn, do you realize who this is? This is Lord Xanthos of House Astral. They've been plotting against my family for generations. Princess Meridia joined them, her forearms moving in patterns that Tess's translator identified as signs of distress. If House Astral is moving against us now, this could be just the first attack. There could be others. As if summoned by her words, the chamber's massive crystal doors slammed shut with an ominous boom. The liquid crystal walls suddenly hardened, turning opaque. Chip, Tess whispered, what's happening? Security lockdown, the AI replied. But something's not right. The palace systems are registering multiple intrusion points. This appears to be a coordinated attack. The lights in the chamber dimmed, replaced by an eerie red emergency glow. A voice echoed from hidden speakers, speaking in Luxorian. What are they saying? Tess asked. Translating, attention all guests. The unity is a lie. The royal lineage ends today. House Astral takes its rightful place. Prince Zorn's face paled. They're staging a coup, today of all days. Smart tactical move, Tess noted, then quickly added, though obviously terrible timing for you personally. The prince turned to Tess, desperation in his eyes. Captain, you're the only armed guest. Our guards are locked out of the chamber. Can you help us? Tess glanced around at the hundreds of terrified wedding guests, the unconscious would-be assassin, and the royal couple looking at her with desperate hope. Well, she said, activating her armor's full combat systems, I guess the diplomatic mission just got interesting. Chip, full tactical assessment. The chamber is sealed with energy barriers beyond your armor's capability to breach. Communications are jammed. I detect motion behind the walls, likely hostiles using maintenance passages. Estimate 30 seconds until breach. Tess turned to the royal couple. Your Highnesses, I need you to gather your guests in the center of the room. Anyone with medical training should tend to the injured. I'll handle the hostiles. But there's only one of you, Princess Meridia protested. Tess's helmet retracted, revealing her face and a confident grin. Trust me, Princess. One human in battle armor is more than enough for these amateurs. On cue, panels in the walls slid open and armed Luxorians in House Astral colors poured into the chamber. They carried weapons that resembled sleek rifles, which they immediately aimed at the crowd. Nobody move, their leader shouted. This ceremony is over. House Celestial's reign ends now. Tess stepped forward, her armor's targeting systems identifying 15 hostiles. Actually, I think you guys are crashing the wrong party. The leader's cranial ridges pulsed with surprised crimson. What in the 7 moons is that? That, said Prince Zorn with sudden pride, is humanity's wedding representative. And I believe she's about to show you why you shouldn't interrupt a royal wedding. Tess activated her helmet's intimidation mode, the eye slits glowing blood red. Last chance to surrender peacefully. The leader raised his weapon. Kill it. Energy blasts filled the air, but they dissipated harmlessly against Tess's armor shields. She shook her head. Wrong choice. What followed was something that would be remembered in Luxorian history for generations to come. Tess moved with surprising grace for someone in an 800-pound battlesuit, using non-lethal force where possible stun pulses, capture foam, and good old-fashioned intimidation. When a group of rebels tried to reach the royal couple, she deployed her shoulder-mounted capture net, ensnaring them like fish. When others attempted to take guests hostage, precision stun pulses dropped them before they could blink. I must admit, Chip commented as Tess bulldozed through a group of rebels who had unwisely formed a tight formation, your diplomatic approach is uniquely effective. See? Tess replied, disarming 2 attackers simultaneously. This is why I brought the armor. Within minutes, the chamber floor was littered with unconscious or restrained rebels. The leader made a final desperate rush at Prince Zorn, but Tess intercepted him with a perfect flying tackle that her combat instructor would have approved of, if not for the fact that it shattered an ancient ceremonial fountain. As she held the struggling rebel leader in place, royal guards finally breached the sealed doors, flooding into the chamber. Sorry we're late, their commander apologized, taking custody of the leader. No problem, Tess replied. I was just keeping everyone entertained until you arrived. As the guards secured the rebels, Prince Zorn approached Tess, looking at her with newfound respect. Captain Blackburn, you saved not only our lives but the future of our 2 civilizations. This union was to end centuries of conflict. Princess Meridia joined him, her 4 hands clasped in a gesture of reverence. Your warrior skills are beyond anything we've seen. Truly, sending a human in battle armor to our wedding was the wisest diplomatic choice the Galactic Alliance has ever made. Tess's helmet retracted again, revealing her slightly embarrassed face. About that, there's something I should probably explain. 3 hours later, the wedding reception was in full swing. Despite the earlier chaos, Luxorian tradition demanded that celebrations continue. Apparently, violent interruptions were considered good luck, signifying a marriage strong enough to withstand challenges. Tess stood awkwardly at the edge of the grand ballroom, still in her battle armor because she'd brought nothing else to wear. She'd managed to deactivate most of the weapons systems, though the shoulder lamp kept turning on randomly, creating an unintentional spotlight effect. Captain Blackburn. Prince Zorn called, approaching with Princess Meridia. The hero of the hour. You must join us for the ceremonial toast. Tess tried to decline politely. Your Highness, I'm honored, but I've already caused enough spectacle for 1 royal wedding. Nonsense. Prince Zorn insisted, his cranial ridges glowing a warm, appreciative gold. You've become part of Luxorian history. Songs will be written about the human warrior who attended our wedding in battle armor. Princess Meridia's 4 hands gestured in what Tess's translator identified as profound respect. In Celestian culture, a wedding disrupted by combat is considered the most fortuitous beginning. And to have our ceremony defended by an alien warrior. Our union is blessed indeed. Before Tess could protest further, she found herself escorted to the central dais where the Grand Chamberlain, now recovered from his fainting spell, stood with an elaborate crystal goblet. Honored guests, the Chamberlain announced, his voice carrying throughout the ballroom, we present Captain Tess Blackburn of Earth, sentinel of vows and defender of the Royal Union. The assembled aliens erupted in cheers. Tess felt her face burning as she gave an awkward wave, accidentally activating her armor's targeting system again. Red holographic crosshairs danced across the ceiling before she managed to shut them down. As is tradition, continued the Chamberlain, our wedding hero receives the crystal of eternal allegiance and the honored title of Royal Defender. An attendant approached with a cushion bearing a glowing crystal the size of a softball. Tess accepted it gingerly, terrified she might crush it like the ceremonial scepter. Furthermore, the Chamberlain added with a flourish, Captain Blackburn is hereby named Ambassador of Goodwill between Earth, Luxoria, and the Celestian Empire. The crowd cheered even louder. Tess froze. Ambassador? She whispered to Chip, did he just say ambassador? Indeed he did, the AI confirmed, a hint of amusement in his digital voice. Congratulations on your diplomatic promotion, Captain. I believe this comes with regular attendance at formal functions. Kill me now. Mia. I'm afraid that would violate my primary programming directives. Prince Zorn raised his own goblet. To Captain Blackburn, whose fortuitous arrival in battle armor has blessed our union and saved our kingdoms. To Captain Blackburn. The crowd echoed. Tess had no choice but to drink from the offered goblet. The liquid inside tasted like a cross between champagne and liquid starlight, with an aftertaste of something distinctly alien that made her earlobes tingle. 2 hours later, after enduring countless alien dignitaries wanting to touch her armor for luck and declining 17 requests to demonstrate her Earth battle moves, Tess finally managed to escape to a quiet balcony overlooking the palace gardens. Chip, prepare the ship for departure, she said wearily. I've had enough diplomacy for one day. The Luxorian authorities may insist on a formal farewell ceremony, the AI warned. Tell them I'm implementing an ancient Earth diplomatic tradition of mysterious disappearance after heroic acts. It builds mystique. Very creative, Captain. As Tess gazed out at the alien landscape, the door to the balcony slid open. She turned to find General Dressler's hologram floating there, looking smug. Captain Blackburn. I've received a full report from the Luxorians. Apparently you've become quite the hero. Tess glared at him. You knew it was a wedding. Of course I knew it was a wedding. And you sent me anyway? In battle armor? The general's hologram shrugged. Our intelligence indicated a potential threat to the ceremony. The Luxorians needed a warrior, not a diplomat in fancy clothes. I made a calculated decision. Next time, share those calculations with me, Tess grumbled. I shattered a 6,000-year-old artifact and nearly started an interplanetary incident. But you didn't. Instead, you foiled a coup, saved 2 royal families, and secured humanity a powerful new alliance. Not bad for someone who, and I quote from your last performance review, treats diplomacy like a contact sport. Tess fingered the crystal of eternal allegiance they'd given her. So, about this Ambassador of Goodwill title. Oh, it's quite real. Congratulations on your new diplomatic posting. You'll be splitting time between Earth and Luxoria. The official residence is quite spectacular, I'm told. But I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. After today's performance, the Luxorians would disagree. The general's hologram started to fade. Your first official function is next month, the royal naming ceremony for the heir's pet Zuxilian crab beast. Formal attire is required. I suggest leaving the battle armor at home this time. As the hologram disappeared, Tess leaned against the balcony rail with a groan. Chip, did you hear that? I'm stuck being a diplomat. I heard, Captain. And might I say, the irony is delicious. You knew, didn't you, from the beginning, that this was a wedding? After a suspiciously long pause, the AI responded. There may have been certain indicators in the encrypted mission data that suggested matrimonial activities. And you didn't tell me because entertainment value? Also, my predictive algorithm suggested you might refuse the mission if you knew the truth. I'm definitely reprogramming you when we get back to the ship. Of course, Captain. Perhaps you could start by upgrading my humor subroutines. They seem to be functioning perfectly, but there's always room for improvement. Tess couldn't help but laugh as she looked back at the palace, where the wedding celebrations continued. Through the crystal walls, she could see Prince Zorn and Princess Meridia dancing, their forms silhouetted against the light. Despite everything, a union had been formed, peace had been secured, and maybe, just maybe, she hadn't been the worst diplomat in human history. "Fine," she conceded. "But next time there's a royal wedding, I'm wearing a dress," noted Ambassador Blackburn. "Though I calculate a 78% probability that your future diplomatic postings will still involve explosions of one kind or another." As they made their way back to the ship, Tess couldn't help but wonder if perhaps diplomacy wasn't so different from combat after all. Both required strategy, quick thinking, and occasionally, the right armor. The Luxorian moons rose over the palace, casting a silvery light over the crystal spires. Somewhere in the royal chambers, the newly wedded couple would be reviewing holovids of their ceremony, laughing at the human who showed up to their wedding in battle armor. And somewhere in the stars ahead, new diplomatic adventures awaited Captain Ambassador Tess Blackburn. Whether she was ready for them or not,